Okay, so just an update on the bike wheel, my electric bike. The bearing did come in from Hong Kong. There's actually 2 bearings in the package, and it was just a little more than $3 shipped Canadian, so good deal. So I'll put the bearing back in while I had the motor apart. There wasn't a lot of grease in there on the planetary gears and on the gear inside the wheel hub. So I just took my lithium grease and just put grease inside everything. Every one of the gears, rather, all the teeth in the gears by hand, just to make sure it was packed in. Not a lot, but just filled up the gears. Anyway, put the wheel back together and just took my time. Of course, threw the bearing in the freezer so that it went into the wheel hub easy. It just tapped in easily with a small spark plug wrench as a mandrel there, just to punch it in. Anyway, pulled everything back together, put it back in the bike, and in the last video, if you recall, what I did to make sure that the axle stayed straight and wasn't cockeyed like it had been was I had installed this small bolt here with a washer that I flattened. Now my idea was that it was going to go against the axle, but when I put it all back together and I started judging how the when I started judging how the wheel was, it was a little bit close to this side of the arm here. So what I did was I made up another washer, and there we go. Sorry about this. Not the best videographer. Made up another washer that fit over here, over the axle, and I flattened it. I actually flattened it here, and it was a little bit too much. I'd taken a little bit too much, and it had gone this way a little bit much. So I took it off and just flattened another side a little bit less, and it worked out perfectly. So the wheel is now the correct distance, and when it rotates, it is nice and straight in the space between the arms. And as well, this not only keeps this from moving back any further, it also evens everything up, because when I like to have 2 kickstands. I have this type of kickstand on the back, and when I used that one, or rather when I installed that one, it was in this way a little bit, so it was a little bit cockeyed and it would wobble a bit. So this made everything nice and flush, so when you put it on, it lays flat against these 2 washers. I did have to grind off a little bit here off the top of this kickstand just to make it fit against here so it didn't interfere with that nut. But other than that, it goes on really easy. I put on the nut, and don't over torque it. That's the big thing here with this. You don't want to bugger up the bearings again. So just tight enough that it's on there, but not too tight that it's going to come loose, or rather not too tight that it's going to damage the bearings. I've already had the bike out for a ride. It rides better than it did, and the extra grease in the bearings or in the gears that I put in while it was apart, really hear the difference. It's really quiet now, and it's just much smoother. When you use the pedal assist, it just seems better, and it tracks better too, because like I said, the reason that the bearing failed in the first place was that I didn't have the axle quite straight across in the slots there. So it's a whole different bike now, so much better way. And I'll let you know if this works out. I've got a whole bunch more kilometers to put on this bike this summer, so if this doesn't work, well, we'll go back to the drawing board. I've at least got another bearing if I needed it. Okay, so that's it. That's the update on my electric bike wheel.